it's one of those weird things, right? Bitcoin's open on the weekends, but I don't put a lot of stock in the price action on Bitcoin because it's such light volume over the weekend. But I think that Monday is going to be a pivotal, Monday, Tuesday, very pivotal for Bitcoin, because you'll get some more price action going in there with the markets open and yields and the dollar moving. The question is, can it break above this level? If it breaks above that level, like I think we talked about a couple weeks ago,
Bitcoin still is the best performing asset of 2023, going from 16,000 at the end of 2022 to around 30K shows an increase in its price of around 80% in just 4 months. According to some, this growth was due to the banking crisis that exploded in March, affecting Silvergate Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and Signature Bank in the US and Credit Suisse in Europe. But despite that, Bitcoin is still going up and holding on its own. The real question now is if Bitcoin can break the 30,000 resistance and stay there for a couple of days, signing the possible start of a new bull run and the existence of Bitcoin's lows. The excitement and market sentiment levels seem to show that the lows are in and that we're flying from here on, but according to Gareth Soloway, from InTheMoneyStocks.com and VerifiedInvestingCrypto.com until the charts say it so, you should be careful. In this video, Gareth will make his new Bitcoin price prediction and explain why next week will be crucial for this asset. Please pay attention until the end so you don't get hammered by smart money and big institutions manipulating prices. First, what happened last week to macro?
Yeah, so I agree, right? We saw the bank earnings on Friday. JP Morgan was really the standout, and that was a tremendous report. Again, they blew it out of the water. Interestingly enough, what I noticed was that while JPM was up, we saw a lot of the regionals continue to fall, and that's never a good situation when you have good earnings from one bank, but the rest can't catch a bid. So that's a little bit of a concern going into next week. I also thought that the early sell-off in the S&P 500 was concerning as well, where you had this good news, the PPI came out the day before, everything was kind of rosy, and the markets opened up, and then they just gave it all back, and essentially we closed flat on the day. Late in the day, we got a little float, but that's normal on a Friday with light volume. At the end of the day, the big players kind of leave for the day, and you see that gentle float back up. So overall, the price action wasn't good on Friday considering. Yeah, I agree. And it is interesting to kind of see how the markets are shaping up here. We got this potential doji on Friday. Again, we have to see what the market does next week. But I think, like you said, it's earnings, right? We have the Netflix earnings on Tuesday after the close. Wednesday after the close is Tesla. And then the next week, we have all the big tech play companies coming in. So, as I look at this market, one of the big things, and this, I did a video earlier this week, but I know a lot of people didn't see it yet. But one of the things that's concerning me is something that my head trader Ben pointed out, which was this pattern here, right? So what we have is this down move from the all-time highs on the S&P 500. And then even though it looks like we're making higher lows, if we look at a chart, and I'm gonna switch screens here. I want to show you guys this, because this is really earth-shattering to me in terms of what it could entail. So this is the psychology of the market, right? And we've all probably seen this chart at some point in time. But if you look at the move we had, so here was your run, let's say from COVID up, right? So the big move to the upside. Then here was your high in 2021 and the sell-off that followed. And then look at the price action following that. You're generally seeing the same, almost to a T, almost perfectly the same pattern, which denotes the complacency period on this psychology of a market chart. And what we know is that following that, in general, we have a bigger down move. So to be honest, looking at this, looking at how the markets have been behaving, I do think that there's a bigger sell-off coming in the works here in the not too distant future. It's one of those things where if this is a bear market end with, and again, I look at past bear markets, and this one to me could be worse than many of the past ones, because you actually have a Fed that has hiked rates percentage-wise bigger than really any time in history. I don't remember, even in the 80s, you didn't see the percentage-wise. Like here we went from 25 basis points to 5%. I mean, think about how many hundreds of percentage points that is, even versus the 1980s where we saw those interest rate increases. So that to me has to at some point play out as a shock to the system that finally comes to fruition. And it is something that I do think we will see not only the October lows of 2022, but even further on.
According to Gareth, the S&P 500 may face the worst bear market of the past few years. So if Bitcoin usually correlates with this index, what can we expect from this asset? Can it keep the momentum going and still thrive?
This is a cool chart, right? And so, needless to say, there's so many bulls out there, which by in and of itself is concerning to me. But my level, again, we talked about this, I think it was about 2+ weeks ago when we were chatting, 30,500. And what's a remarkable here is that you just continue to hammer on this. On Friday, we saw a push above it, but by the end of the day, we closed right at that level. And here we are down ticking again. Granted, it's the weekend, so, light volume, it's one of those weird things, right? Bitcoin's open on the weekends, but I don't put a lot of stock in the price action on Bitcoin because it's such light volume over the weekend. But I think that Monday is going to be a pivotal, Monday, Tuesday, very pivotal for Bitcoin, because you'll get some more price action going in there with the markets open and yields and the dollar moving. The question is, can it break above this level? If it breaks above that level, like I think we talked about a couple weeks ago, for me, it needs to show me that it can stay above there for a certain amount of days, multiple days, versus just a quick blip above, fooling everyone and then coming right back in. But this is a huge level psychologically, right? I mean, this, again, we talked about this last time, but you're going back to these levels here, going back to the lows of the bull market, even the pre-big run here, and then even this consolidation area over here. And that's my biggest issue, is the charts right now still show that we're into this area. And then number two is, to me, the bullish sentiment in crypto right now is very similar to when I made the call that 69,000 was going to be a fall and we were going to go to 20,000. And it's that psychology. We looked at that psychology of the market chart earlier. Those things are kind of eating at me in terms of whether or not this bear market is fully over. Now, whether or not we've made the lows, obviously, we should know in the next 6 months or so. But at least in the near term, something likely to me will trigger a sell-off back down a little bit. I'm still in the camp personally that it's still mostly, I would say 3/4 of it is a risk asset. What I've noticed over the last 3-4 years of Bitcoin is that it was 95% a risk asset. Well, at one point it was 100%. Then it was 95, then it was 90, then it was 85, 80, and now we're at 75. So, like, for the banking crisis, there's no doubt about it. That was an awesome situation for Bitcoin. We showed it decouple when the markets were selling off there. So I think it's slowly maturing. It's kind of like an adolescent that needs to get into adulthood here and mature. But I still think that in this scenario, if you see a real panic hit the stock market, we see, let's say, 20% down, my guess is it does decline for the most part. I think, like gold, like, even like in all fairness, if it's full out panic, everything declines, right? We even saw gold in COVID quickly dip before recovering. But the question then is, if it's a longer term bear market in the stocks, I still think it does put pressure on it, but again, slowly it's maturing into What's funny about that is the Bitcoin community, they always talk it up like a gold, like a digital gold, right? Like, oh, this is the anti-volatility play. But in reality, what they really want is the volatility, right? In a bull market, when you can see Bitcoin go up 400-500%, that's fantastic. That doesn't happen with a gold asset, right? You're not going to see that in gold. And so there's this kind of weird dichotomy there where people want it to be a store of value and kind of an offset to kind of the craziness. But at the same time, you usually don't get the crazy, positive, insane moves from a risk asset that's like gold.
Tomorrow will be an important day for Bitcoin. We at The Daily Crypto will be on top of the latest news. So leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any critical updates and predictions to help you profit from the crypto markets while protecting your wealth. Thanks.